So I'm just going to go over the agenda real quick here. It's just going to be kind of short and sweet here. We're going to talk about what style guides are in MindStudio and why we need them and what do they do. Anybody that creates agents in MindStudio can use and make and swap style guides. First impressions are very, very important. And unless we're writing agents that don't have interfaces on them, like they're scheduled and we just look at their responses, that's one thing. But if you're writing agents that have humans in the loop and you're interacting with people, which a great many of us are doing that, you really need to be thinking about the impressions that you make, especially the first ones with your inputs and your generate asset blocks can also be vibe coded, and I'm told that the checkpoint blocks can too. Personally, I've never vibe coded a checkpoint block before, so they're on the screen in such short periods of time. So there are some do's and don'ts, some best practices that we'll cover as we go through this. Here's an example of a style guide that I've made that I've used in an agent that I'm building here. Just to, that's a regular standard user input with a style guide applied to it. And we'll talk about that as well. Uh, this is the chat screen in the user interface. You'll get used to seeing that off and on, and that's where you're going to be doing your vibe coding, basically. And then last but not least, if anybody is interested in, I've got a whole library of custom style guides that I've made that if you show up this presentation and can get me an email address, I'll be glad to send you the zip file. It's got 20 style libraries in it. There's a picture of each guide in it and a text file. And that's all the guide is a text file. You're going to copy it and paste it, and we'll get into that in a little bit as I go ahead and do that. So that is the ins and outs of the presentation there. If you've got some questions, just raise your hand. We'll try to tackle them as we get to them. I need to go back to my other screen here. Hold on a second. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Zoom. There it is. Okay, so um, I'm on the wrong desktop here. Hold on a second. Here we go. I'm just going to play 1 minute of this video that I made. It's about 60 seconds long. It's up to my LinkedIn page. Some of you may have seen it already, but it's going to maybe just demystify a little bit. If you're new to style guides or new to MindStudio, let me just play a
All
little bit
right,
of this.
today we're diving into one of the coolest, most powerful features in MindStudio, custom style guides. This is how you take an AI agent from something that just, works and turn it into an experience that people actually remember. So let's be honest. You spend all this time perfecting your AI's logic, getting the prompts just right. It's a technical masterpiece. But then when a real person uses it, does the interface feel a little flat? A little generic? It's a super common problem, and it's exactly what we're going to solve right now. And look, the difference is just night and day. On the left, you've got your standard basic input block. Yeah, it's functional. But on the right, wow, that's a custom interface. It looks professional, it's engaging, and it just instantly makes the whole experience feel more premium. This isn't just about making things pretty, it's about building trust and getting people to actually want to interact with your AI. So here's our game plan for today. It's pretty simple. First, we'll cover the what and the why, what these guides are and why you should care. Then we'll jump into the how-to, the fun part. And finally, we'll talk about the payoff, which is all about building your own awesome library of styles. Okay.
That's all I want to play of that. That's on my LinkedIn page. If you want to see that, feel free to do that. And now I'm going to go straight into MindStudio. I made a little agent for today's presentation. I just have to fire up MindStudio here. Let's see, second here. Boom. There it is. Oh, get out of the way. There we go. So I have this little carousel kind of thing that I made today that we're going to look at. I'm going to run this thing. It's just a collection of unvibe coded and vibe coded user inputs that we can take a quick little look at here running off of a menu system. And I'm going to start with, like, for instance, one that hasn't been vibe coded. You can see this. Uh, I should really go back to how we actually start using a user input block, and I think I'll do that before I get too far into this here. So let me just go back into my guides here. Um, I have a draft here. It's called where to go? Somewhere in here, there's one. It doesn't matter. I can just make a brand new one because that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to make a new agent and I'm going to put a user input block into it. There it is right there. And if you haven't used user input blocks before, you have to have user input variables. The first variable I'm going to make is just going to be called, we'll call it date. And we want it to be a date type. Okay. And then I'm going to make another one here that's called agenda. It's going to be long text agenda, call it that. And then I'm going to make just one other small little simple variable here. It's going to be called people. All right, we'll call that one people. And that's going to be a short text one. So there they all there. I'm going to go back to my workflow here and I'm going to go over to the user input variable. I need to change the interface from native to custom. And when I do that, I'm going to click the design interface. It's going to bring up these two other windows here. The first thing we need to do is start the preview. This is MindStudio in the background, applying all of its Python and JavaScript libraries to actually make the user input interface. It takes a second, and I can only apologize, but it's pretty fast here. You might notice that down at the bottom here, it says I'm using Claude 4.5 Haiku. I'm going to immediately change that into Gemini 2.5 Flash because it's got a large context window and it's really fast. So I like to use that one myself. All right, so this thing is ready for instructions now. Let me go back to this page here. I have a simple little prompt here. Let's see. Well, actually, I'm going to type the prompt in. One of the best practices is you should always have a text editor out and you should be typing your prompts into a text editor because the MindStudio chat window isn't always going to keep your prompts. Sometimes it
Hey Doug,
does. Yeah,
Doug, you got a question.
yes.
Han wants to know something.
I don't
Thanks,
have my
Deb.
chat. There you go,
Sorry,
Han.
Deb.
That's
Sorry,
okay.
quick question for you. Is it possible to put in the user input? I know we did long text, short text, but also text choice, just because I've had some problems with text choice.
You want me to put
Um,
one in here?
yeah, is it possible?
It
I just
absolutely
wanted,
is. The other thing is that any of these variables that you put in here, I'm going to create another one. You don't really need them because you can vibe code them right into your user input too. You can tell the chat screen, okay, I'd like to have a radio control group with the following buttons in it. And that's
right.
like user choice, right? But we'll put one of those. User choice, let's see, text choice, you mean?
Yeah, just
Okay.
multiple choice or,
Yep.
whatever options. I'm gonna
Yep.
lower my hand.
We'll see some of those too. And I'm going to make options yes, no. I'll make maybe in there as one. We can add a third one. Okay. That will make that even a little bit more interesting here.
Thanks.
Okay. And then once we come back to the user input thing, I actually skipped one thing here. That's just very important. You have to add those variables to the user input dialog over here. And you can actually select them all at once by holding your input key down. I don't want the input one. That was a mistake. I'm going to click add, and there they all are. Okay. Now I can click design interface and I can vibe code this thing. And it's going to be very simple. I'm going to just say create a simple uh, meeting agenda form and include the input, sorry, my typing's not so great today, variables for it. And I'm going to hit enter. And it's thinking, you can see that window, it's going to think in a second. And it says I'm currently working on building. And there it is, it's right in the code. We're going to look at Gemini Flash right through all this code here. And in a second, the user input that we've made is going to pop up. And there it is, meeting agenda. The agent has done a lot of things for us already. Han, here's your choice. Here's your selection box right here, right? There's yes, no, maybe.
Can you
Uh,
click?
yep. See
Are you
that? There
able?
they are. And if I click no,
Because
it's going to put no in the window there. So you could make those anything you want.
okay, I think on my when I tried it maybe a couple of weeks ago, I
Mm.
gave text choice and I gave not yes no. I do have yes no, but options. And for some reason, when I did this, the pop-up came up and it didn't allow me to select on those choices. But it's
Mm.
it allows me right now, so it must have
Yep.
been maybe a
I
glitch.
should caveat this. This system of vibe coding in MindStudio is not perfect. And there's going to be lots of times when you might have a hanging input compilation that's going on, or it might do some unexpected things. You just have to be prepared for that. Also, it takes initiative here. I never vibe coded to say, make a title that says meeting agenda. It just gathered that from the prompt that I said, create a simple meeting agenda form. I never specified the title or anything like that. The other thing is that once it's done, I need to resize this window somehow because I can't see you guys and other. So down at the bottom here, you see this little compile button? That is the only way that you can save a vibe coded user input that you've made. And if you look on the right over here, it says custom interface has uncompiled changes. In order for me to preserve this work that I just did, I have to hit the compile button. And I'm going to do that, and it's going to recompile it. That message will go away, and I can save that now. Through vibe coding, I can actually revert that if I want to, just by typing in, please revert the last compilation that you made. It'll undo all of that. And it's pretty amazing here. And and the other thing that's very important is if you come up to the top, if you can see my cursor, there's a pop-out icon up here. I'm going to click this. This will put that user input into full screen where I can actually look at it closely and test it out and things like that. The one thing I meant to vibe code in this is to tell it to make a bulleted list of attendees. And every time I'd add an attendee here, they would pop up in a list with a bullet next to it. I am never ceased to be amazed at what you can tell these user inputs to do in the vibe in vibe coding. We're dealing with large language models. It's just awesome what this thing can do, and you're going to see a few examples of some really just surprising things here. I'm glad Sando's here because I've got one of his user inputs, and I'm going to add a logo to it that connects to his website right into the user input. There's a lot of talk about embedding our agents into websites right now. It's a great deployment strategy, but it's a two-way street. We can also embed our websites into our agents as well. And that can be very beneficial for our work as we can do that. So I'll get to that a little bit later here. I'm going to cancel out of the screen here, and I'm going to go into style guides now. So the first thing that you should do when you come back to this main flow is you should right click on the user input that you made, click copy and paste and make a copy of that. Because if something goes wrong, you now have a backup right in the middle of your agent that you can use. And you can just get rid of this one and reconnect this one. And if you have to start over, you can do it that way. Not a big problem. So just let that guy hang out on the stage there. The other thing that you should do is I showed you how to explore this up. So now we're going to go into the style guides. If you look down to the bottom right of the edit window here, you'll see down here that there's a hamburger down here. And I click it, you can extract a style guide or you can import a style guide. Best practice number 2, when you make a new user input that you're about to vibe code, immediately extract the vanilla plain version of it because that too will let you go back to a plain copy of something in the event that something goes wrong with all the vibe coding that you've been doing. As soon as this is done, copying this style guide, I'm going to copy it to my clipboard and I'm going to paste it into a text document. I'm going to name it as default or whatever. And if I need to, I can use this to apply in a second here. So I'm just going to copy that to my clipboard. I think I did that. Yeah, it did. I'm going to click close. I'm going to go over here to a text window here. I'm going to click file new and I'm going to click paste. And then I have that style guide for that vanilla input thing if I need to apply that later. Okay. So now I'm going back to the user here. Now let's talk about applying a style guide here. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but I have a whole list of I need to go into my sorry about jumping around here. I have a whole list of a library of style guides that I made. And I'm going to show you what that kind of looks like real quickly here. If I can get to my documents, here it is. So I made two 10-pack style guides and one 20-pack style guide. If you want them, I'll be glad to email you the zip file. What's in those style guides are the following. You got pictures of the style guides themselves, and then you've got the style guides, which are just text files. So let's say I want to apply one of these style guides to, I don't know, to the form I just made. Here's a good one. Let's make a mint tea. So I'm going to double click the text, the style guide. I'm going to do a Command A to select the whole thing. I'm going to copy all of that text. I'm going to go back into the style guide now, and I'm going to click the import style guide. And I'm just going to right click and paste that copy from that clipboard in there and click the import button. It's thinking about what it's got to do right now, and in a second,
So,
it's going to
Doug,
start
question
right.
for you. So
Yep,
importing is literally just copying and pasting the text. You don't actually import a file.
that's exactly right.
Thank you.
You can't drop a text file into the import window. It's got to be text. Okay, that's why the library is images of the style guides, and there's just a series of text files that you copy and paste right into your import thing. There is, and I'm going to zoom that up. There was I forgot what I called this one, Minty or something. There's a style guide applied to that user input that we just made. And as soon as I get through with that, I have to compile it. And when I compile it, that guy's going to be like, as soon as I run my agent, we're going to see that, right? And I have 20 different style guides. How did I get those style guides? Simple. I just did what I did for you guys this morning. I made a simple little meeting agenda form and started vibe coding it. When I got to something I like, I extracted the style guide to a file, saved it, and named it, and added it to a library. Everybody can do that. You can make your own libraries of these things whenever you need to and share them with people. Notice what just happened there. The window went back to, that's because I didn't compile it. If I hit my refresh button though, it's going to go back and bring it back here. I'm going to go ahead and compile. I'm going to compile this user input window so that I don't have that pop out. This thing does some quirky little things sometimes. You just got to be prepared for it. So there's the user input thing for that. So any questions so far about what I did? I know I'm going kind of fast. These sessions don't last very long.
So, Doug,
So,
question for you, that
yep,
the background gray, is that just
yes.
going to be whatever color it happens to be on their own use desktop?
Here's one of the quirks. So you might as well, you're going to learn this from experience. You can learn it from me. If I make a vibe code and I use the word background in it, it thinks I'm talking about the background that the form is sitting on. If I want to
Ah,
change the color of the background of the form, I have to use the term form background. So right now I could say, for instance, please, excuse me, let me type this better. Please change the background, oops, sorry, to dark brown. And I can use hexadecimal numbers there and everything. So hopefully this will work right. Just going to rewrite the code and it's going to change the background that that form is sitting on. I realize brown's going to look terrible with the green, but there it is. And it did that. But you just have to know from experience that the stage that the form is sitting on is referred to as the background,
and then the
and
form is the
the
form background.
is the form
Got it.
background. Now, if you
Thank you.
look at this, I have to compile this again now that I did that, okay? So if you look at, as soon as this thing finishes compiling that, if I bring this up here, um, everything you see on this form can be changed. One of the things I have up on my screen over here is the where'd it go? Is the font book from my Mac. You can tell this thing to change any text, any label on here to be any font you want, just through vibe coding it. And we'll see some examples of that in a
Can
second
you
here.
actually import like a wallpaper, like a picture in the back to do for the background, not the form background, but the background? Could you
We're
actually
gonna get.
import an image?
I've tried that a couple of times with mixed results, but what I can do, and I am going to show you, is you can import logos. And any pictures or logos that you have to import has to be done via a URL. You're not going to be dragging and dropping
Ah,
anything.
can't
You have to
drop it.
provide it with a
Oh.
URL, and you've got to tell it, please put a logo in the upper right part of the form using the following URL, cut and paste the URL, and you're off to the races. You can go. You can also tell that logo, and I'm going to show you that. I did this with Sando's input. You can tell that logo to provide a link to another site on the internet, another site on the internet, probably even another agent, right? If you wanted to. But when you're sitting here vibe coding, the hard part about this is a creative process. I can't teach any of you to be creative. I can't teach any of you how to be curious. We are all here because we have something in common, at least I think we do. We spend our lives trying to make a living or making ourselves happy by making things. And that's what we're doing today, is we're making stuff. And we're making agents, and now we're making our agents look and behave a little bit better, I think so. Um, so that's how we created our own little user input there. I'm going to pull up the carousel now that I started with before, if I can figure out what page it was on. It's in MindStudio. Okay, it's in MindStudio. It's an agent. I have to run it. Blah 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 boom. Here we go. I'm going to run this agent. All this agent is a menu system that points to about 13 or 14 different in user inputs. They're all user inputs, or a couple of them that I've style guided here. This one right here, I have an agent right out here's a multi-language processor translator. You may have seen it on my LinkedIn profile here, but here is a user input form that I vibe coded, and every one of these drop downs has flags and languages into it. I can tell this thing to load a PDF, or I can tell it to type in some text. I can, like the rain in Spain falls mainly in Denver, or wherever it's at, so on. And I can tell it I want you to translate this into Hungarian, to German. I can come down here. These, by the way, are classic language classifications, the way I have these things organized into Hebrew. And if I can think of a language that's not in here, like I learned a new one the other day, Urdu. You ever heard of Urdu before? I never heard of that. And then I'll click translate and it'll go and translate these things. This is a simple user input dialogue with a style guide that was vibe coded to have all these things put in here. And this is user choice, by the way, on these things. I only had 5 languages in the original user input, but I vibe coded all of the other ones. I said, please make the language classifications and add the following language to each classification where they belong. The large language model knew where these languages needed to go as far as the language classifications went. So if I click the title for this, it should revert. If I click translate, it should take me back to, uh, oh, wait a second, I'm back in here. Okay, hold it. Let me just go back into MindStudio. I did something wrong there. Where's my boom? Hold on. MindStudio. Bring up the carousel again. Uh, why am I doing this? Sorry, my workspace. My bad. Okay, so here's the carousel again. I didn't mean to close. I have it set up so it doesn't close every time here. So let's pick another one. This one I didn't do anything, but I changed the fonts on this. Okay. If I click I had this. If I click the meeting, it's going to let me rerun the agent, go back to the carousel again. Here the buttons came out funky. I can go into vibe code to make sure these buttons get changed to the same size, right? And we have these drop downs for dates. This hasn't really been vibe coded that much, but let's look at some of the other ones that are coming up that have been. Add a logo. Here's the MindStudio logo added to a thing. And how is that done? With the URL. I have the URL. If you want the URL to put the MindStudio logo on your form, it's a no-brainer, right? And I'm going to click that. Let's see what else here. Run again. Uh, I also developed an agent that produces a ski trip itinerary. Believe it or not, they're amazing, these itineraries. And this is the user input that allows you to do it. You can select a state. We'll select Vermont. It lists the 5 best skiing places. You tell how many people are going to do that. You select the dates of your trip, uh, and so on and so forth. And then you put a parting zip code. Let's do 10017. That's my old neighborhood in New York. And you click next, and it would go off and produce a ski itinerary. That's a user input thing that's been vibe coded. Not a big deal. What's next here? Here's another one. One of the types in your user input block can be display. It doesn't do anything. So in my ski itinerary thing, if the user picked a premium ski trip, it's going to take a long time to figure out that stuff, and it's going to cost a lot of money. So I put this little warning up in the middle of my agent that warns people, you've picked a premium ski trip, but I vibe coded a timer into the user input screen. It's just going to close 1 minute and proceed on with the workflow. And that's what its role was in the user input, if that made any kind of sense. So you can actually, I just, I said, have this window shut in 10 seconds and show a counter on the screen. And that was the type of display in a user input thing. Let's see, what else here? Here's another one. Paris in the spring. Uh-oh, there it goes. Notice the background to this user input. It's got an animated gradient that's changing colors, which was vibe coded into the user input when I was vibe coding it. The same with the form itself. It's changing colors, and you can add behavior to your user inputs and make them interesting to look at and interesting. Some of these things I understand are gaudy, and it becomes a matter of subjectivity and personal taste. I get that. You're going to have to be your own judge when it comes to all those things. I was just experimenting to see what this thing could do. And I was, happily pleased that you could vibe code kind of behavior into your user inputs.
Doug, it makes me happy. I'm loving all that. It may be gaudy to some people, but we need more color in life. So I'm a happy
There you go.
person.
So I did that one. And there's a few of those. Wait till you see, let's see. Here's one I called fried chicken. There's a fried chicken style guide. And I just applied that with those 3 buttons at the bottom, and off we went there. I think I click save to get out of this. I'll just show you a couple more because I want to get into some other things here. Uh, Watch this one. This is the meeting agenda, but it's Spencerian. Look at this. I can make the input form swell and shrink, and I've got it using a scripted font here with the MindStudio logo in it. And actually, yeah. So I mean, you know what? The large language model is the limit here. Whatever you can think of wanting to do to your interfaces, you can, or you can at least try, right? Do I have? Is there any? Uh-oh, I don't know what happened there. Okay, let's see. This one I actually got from another one. This is another one user input that gave me problems. Here's user checkboxes. And I've vibe coded this to actually on another example, put in the populations for each state. I told the vibe code, please put the state's population next to the state label. And I'm not running this particular one. I could show you that one, but you can go in here and select these different states here. I only put 4 states in, and I vibe coded all the other states and told it to go out and get the state flags and put them on the same row. And it did it just fine. These state flags came from a site called Wikimedia, which you can see in the code. For some reason, there were 2 states that couldn't find a flag for it. Drove me crazy. Vermont couldn't get a flag, and some other ones. So you got to be prepared for some of these little iffy little things that it can do sometimes here. Again, if I click the title, we'll go back. Um, and then that was the state checks boxes. And then here is, this is Sandhu's beautiful agent that he built. Here's his ICP user input. And that thing is gorgeous just the way it is. Sometimes less is more. I love the way this looks. I'm going to pull up another agent in a second that shows where I vibe coded that and applied his logo and a link to his website on that particular thing here. So this is just a user input form that did you vibe code this, Sandu?
It was vibe coded, yes, with Shy and myself.
Awesome, man. Just beautiful. The thing that I really love the most is he included language in his vibe coding to make these radio button groups, which is takes a little bit of understanding how to do that. And you know what? If you vibe code the language properly, the language model will put those in by itself. This could also have been a drop down. I've actually vibe coded one similar to this. It made the same thing, only the run mode was a drop down instead of a pair of radio groups. You just don't know what it's going to come back with from time to time. So, Sandra, that's a beautiful user input dialogue, man. Just gorgeous. And then so yeah, so those are all examples of that stuff. Any questions before I go ahead and show you how to put a logo and a link on a user input box? Any ideas? Any questions at all? Nothing? Okay,
Uh,
let me go
Doug, I
ahead.
have a question. I'd put it in the chat.
Oh,
So,
I don't have that up yet. So
yeah, so I'm wondering how people are handling this. So, saving your
yeah,
prompts or your markdown documents. Are people using GitHub or are you just using your local machine? Or are you putting it on the cloud? Like, how are people like managing that?
to create the style guides?
Well, yeah, like that's an example. Like you had your style guides, you have them saved and it's literally text, right? It's
Yes,
text that acts as code.
yes,
And
yes.
are you just saving all those onto your laptop
Yep.
or on your computer? I was just curious if anyone else is using any online repositories for any of these
You
markdown
certainly
documents.
could use anything that stores a text file is open season. I've
Yeah.
just been storing them in my local machine and putting them in zip files. In fact, if
Okay.
anybody asks for my style guide library, that's what you're going to be getting, a zip file in your email. And you're just going to explode it. You'll have the pictures and you'll have the text files, copy them, paste them into the import window, and you're rocking and rolling. But you could put them into GitHub, you could put them into Dropbox, you could put them anywhere you wanted to. And I'm trying to figure out how to get out of this screen that I'm in here. Okay, so how do I stop sharing again? Sorry, folks, my rookie mistakes here. There's a Zoom window right there. Oh, there it is. Stop
Go
sharing.
to the
There we go.
bottom. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. So let's see. We've got a little bit of time left here. I'm going to pull up another set of style guides here and show you what it's really like to sit there and work at the prompt here. So, and Sandu, I hope you don't mind. I'm so impressed with that thing that you made. I'm going to use your example do I have that in draft? I do
I
have that in
appreciate it.
draft.
Let's just make sure the credit goes with the dual effort here with Shy. Definitely appreciate you calling me out, but Shy definitely deserves a lot of that credit.
I will make sure that he gets it. And I'm gonna edit this copy here. And I was hoping so. I often have orphaned blocks laying around in my meetings, my agents. They're there for reasons. I can swap them in and out if I need to, and so on and so forth. But here is Shai and Sando's user input. Notice, this. If you haven't seen his agent, it's just unbelievable. But I digress. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that user input box, and we're going to start the preview. And I think this is going to come up as the vanilla version right
Hey,
here.
Doug, do you want to share your screen again?
Oh, thank you, Sando, if I can figure out how to do that. Bada bing,
Bottom
bada
of
bing,
the
bada bing.
Zoom window, there should be a share button.
Uh, there it is. Thanks, Sando. There we go. Okay, can you see me now?
We can see it.
Okay, I just need to pick get the agent back in my screen here, wherever that went. Um, let's see, where'd it go? Okay, there it is. So I'm going to move the chat window aside here. This thing is ready to do that. So I have a little text window open. I need to open this guy up right here. And in it, I have the URL for the MindStudio logo. And I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to come back to my agent here, and I'm going to say, please, oops, I'm going to try to put that there. Place a logo in the upper right corner of, sorry, you guys are making me nervous, of the form using the following URL. Did I type that right? No. Paste, return. So it's going to go off to the races now, and we're going to see the MindStudio thing there. The other thing is I got Gemini 3 Flash running now, not 2.5. It's the fastest. And there it is. And you know what? I think it's a little bit small. So let me do this. Please increase the logo size by, I'm going to call it 60%. And I'm going to hit enter. And it's going to go ahead and increase the size of that logo. You could type in pixels. You could probably even try to metric inches or things like that. I use percentages because the language model understands those really well. And boom, there it is, right? And it changed the thing. If I compile this on my draft here, that MindStudio logo is going to stay on his form. And there it is, right? I can click the large, let me move the camera screens keep getting in the way. There it is. There's this beautiful dialogue that Shay and Sando put together here with the logo on it. Okay, I'm going to close that. I'm going to go back to this form now, and I'm going to show you some of the other instances um, of how that input dialogue, that input user input was vibe coded. And I've saved about 4 of them on this agent here because they came out looking so awesome. When you start with a really good user input form, there's only one direction to go, and that's up. So, and again, I can't overemphasize how important I think the impressions that you make with your agent users when they see these user guides, it's very important. I applied one of my library style guides to this thing, and there it is. It's very different than the way it came out, but the checkboxes are there, all the form fields that are there that he wanted to use. You may not like this, you may like it. That's not the point. The point is that it can be done. I'm going to go back to my text boxes, and I'm going to add, if I can find it here, I'm going to add Sando's logo to that dialogue. I'm going to copy the URL for it. I'm going to come back to the thing here, and I'm going to go over to the Vibe window. I'm going to say, please add a logo to the, I guess the top right looks like a good place there. Top right of this form using following URL. Oops. I do there. I did something wrong.
Doug, I have a
Following.
question.
Sure.
Do you have to finish this agent, like have it completely done, or can you just have a user input questions and not have the rest of the sort of workflow or agent completed in order to design this custom user interface?
Han, did you see that little carousel that I had up before? I went through a bunch of different ones. It was like in a
Yeah.
circle. None of those user inputs were connected to anything. Nothing.
Uh,
And I had to actually vibe code that when the title was clicked to end the run and return it back to the carousel. So yeah, you can sit there and make user inputs till the cows come home with no intended purpose. However, usually when you have a user input in mind, you've got a destination for it and a behavior associated with what's going to happen too. So, but yeah, you can absolutely make all the user input dialogues you want of any type, of any shape, form, without actually having any functionality in them at all, right?
So I think that's when I was looking at my agent and I
Mm.
ran it as well, I'm having the same problem where it only allows me to click on one or not click on the multiple check text choice. Just going back to that kind of first question that I had, I don't know if it's my
Yeah,
agent or what form I'm having. So
because there wasn't any behavior associated with it. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm not too sure. And I definitely
Yeah.
don't want to use a lot of this time for everyone
I'll be
there,
glad to
but
take a look at it. If you want to send me a remix of it or something,
yeah,
I'll be glad to do
that
that.
would be great. Thank you,
So
Doug.
I'm sorry,
One
there's,
thing I'd probably recommend is maybe clear your cache, try it in incognito window. If any
yeah,
of those basic troubleshooting steps don't work, then submit in the community support portal because it potentially might be a bug.
yeah,
But I would probably clear your cache first, see if that works. Try an incognito window, see if that works. Also, look at the way you're wording with your prompting
prompting.
because sometimes depending on how you prompt it, maybe the structure of the prompt is causing it not to function the way it needs to, because I've noticed this too. You need a lot of patience, and Doug's probably, you can see Doug has a lot of patience, but having to reword it maybe sometimes, because I know I've done it
Yeah.
too, where I'm like, this is not what I asked and I have to go back and reword it. So
If you
I
remember at the
consider those
outset,
three
one of
things.
my one of my hot tips was have a text editor open, and you should be typing everything you prompt into a text editor because you might need to copy and paste it and revisit it again. And you can't depend on the chat screen here to keep all that stuff for you, right? You
Yeah,
just can't do it.
I think when
And
I asked Alex, he said to go into, which I guess I'm not sure about how to do this, but switch to the code tab and adjust it manually.
well,
So
that's for people who feel comfortable working around in code. I can change the title of Shay and Sandhu's user input right now just by going into the code and doing a Command F search for it and typing it in. I can do that, but I didn't want to drag people into source code for this right now. So that would be a different lecture, I think. Also, Sandhu pointed out up here where my cursor is, you have this refresh screen. A lot of times you're going to just need to refresh your browser and your MindStudio instance if things get hung up. And the other thing that you're going to want to try to do is don't be afraid to change models frequently. Claude Haiku 4.2 is really great at writing code, but Gemini 3 and Gemini 2.3 Flash are twice as fast. So you're going to want to like, and I've seen the preview window get bogged down with writing source code. It just seems like run out of gas sometimes. And changing the model can really go a long way towards resolving some of those things as you're working with them. So I'm just going to go ahead and we see the Sandhu's his logos there. I'm going to actually compile that because I want to do something else. I'm going to actually vibe code his website into that logo onto this dialogue now, right there. So I have another, I got to go back to my little text files here that I had prepared for today. Here is, let's see, here's the link to Sandhu's StageX website, which is an awesome website, by the way. Let me just copy that and Control C. I'm going to come back to the agent and I'm going to vibe code again. I'm going to say, add the following link. I can get that to the, sorry, logo in the top right of the form. Boy, typing is that bad today. I'm going to hit a colon and I'm going to paste a URL for that thing. I hope that went in there. I didn't even see it. Yeah, there it is. So there it is. It's going to vibe code that form in here. It's like full circle, like I mentioned. Everybody's screaming about how can I embed my agents into this web page? Well, heck with that. I'm going to embed the web page into your agent. And there it is. I'm going to compile this because I know it's going to work because I'm confident today. Right? Come on, you can do it. I'm going to pull up the full screen version of this thing and I'm going to click. There's Sandhu's website. Bam. That is just powerful to do to a user input form on an agent. That is, think about what you can do to an agent that you've built that has a user input form. You can create an entire full stack application on a user input form all by itself. And it's just incredibly powerful. And it was, you saw what I did. I tried to type it. I really couldn't even type that well, right? And I went back to my main form here. I did a whole bunch of these things here. Um, Fresh blue and gold. Here's one that came up that didn't have any radio buttons. The large language model got rid of your buttons and changed your title, Sandu. It changed your title from ICP collection to get your ICP profile or something like that. It did that all on its own. I mean, that's what large language models do, right? That's why we have to be paying attention to what's going on as we're vibe coding. I try not to read these screens here because they get a little monotonous, but you really have to pay attention and you have to be prepared for unexpected results from the large language models. And you also have to be prepared for them going way over the top and doing things you never even asked for, which you like or don't like sometimes. It really depends on what you're doing here. So here is the new one. Notice that it changed the radio buttons into a drop down here, and it changed the name of Sandhu's title here. It did that all on its own. Sandhu's original process button said continue on it. The large language model put a smaller button on it that says initialize scan. So you just never know what you're going to get back from these things, but it's pleasant surprises many times here. So, and I mean, so on and so forth. And I don't know, we still have, I don't know, are we over? No, we're getting close. We got
You got
about 10 more minutes
minutes
left.
left.
Yeah, and I just wanted to open this up for, let me just see if I have any other things that I missed. By the way, here, oh, yeah, hold on a second here. Here is this advertisement was in MindStudio, in Slack rather. I actually sold a few of these libraries. I tried to monetize them. I didn't have too many takers, nor did I have many takers for this, trying to monetize my little MindStudio little keychain things that I made on my 3D printer. Nobody bought them. I think they're cute. Wouldn't they make great Christmas presents? Don't you think so, you guys? Look at that. Those are awesome, right? Never mind. I'm sorry. Shameless plug. It was a rainy day. The 3D printer needed to be lubed up, and I got it going there. So, and you know what? I made these. I vibe coded them. I made my own libraries. Now that you've seen how to make your own libraries, you can, or you can just use these if you want to. Um, and that's basically it. You can do this with, I'm going to run one other agent real quick because I vibe coded a generate asset block, and I want you guys to see what that might look like. You're going to have to sit through an agent running of mine, and I'm sorry for making you do that. But this is the multi-language translator agent. By the way, yesterday, I was always been curious. I got the Quran out online and I copied and pasted about 5,000 words of the Quran into this agent here to see what would come back in English. And it did that. So the first thing is I'm just going to upload a PDF file, which I can do from my drive here somewhere if I can find one. Gotta move your wait a second. Oh, there, I'm trying to move you guys. So I need to go to my documents folder, find a PDF real quick. Shouldn't take more than a second here. There it is. I'm just going to pick a student essay. There we go. Transgender use of bathrooms. There we go. Now there's a topic to discuss. So let's see. So I'm just going to double click that. How do I get? There we go. I got to move you. I got to move you guys again. There we go. Open. It's parsing that file, and in a second, it's going to bring up the user input dialog that's been vibe coded. I'm going to open up the debugger so we can see it here. It's actually counting. It's actually counting. It's going to count the words in a second. There's a global variable that limits 30,000 words. So here it is. It's pasted the document into this little text window up here, and now I can just go through all of these here. Much to my delight, there's also a Black English translation that you can pick here. Or if you want to translate into Quebecois, you can do that. That wasn't one of the choices. Let's do translate now. There's the agent. It's counted the words, it's passed that, it's going to go and it's going to fill a JSON array with translations. And that's what it's doing right now. In a second, it's going to come up with a vibe coded generate asset block that I formatted the way I want it to, which can be downloaded as a PDF, or you can actually download the individual translations. It's the same thing. Once you've put a test data into your generate asset block, you're going to have that screen thing. And here is here's the translations here. If I can move the things out of the way here, and Black English, and it's really interesting to read some of this. And here's French Canadian, if you wanted to see all that works. You can download these, you can scroll through them, and this will translate anything. And this is, MindStudio has a translate language block. It's not very good, but you can prompt translations into or from anything in MindStudio's generate text blocks and so on and so forth. So that's what that did this, and this was all vibe coded basically. So you can do that. I have not tried to do a checkpoint block, but in theory, you're supposed to be able to do that. I don't use them a lot if I don't have to. So, and that was basically most of my presentation. I did have, see, anything else up over here? I did have, oh, if somebody wants this, this is a hexadecimal chart. I have this great little macro on my machine uh, that I can highlight any one of these numbers here and paste it right into the Vibe chat and get the hexadecimal thing. I don't have to memorize those numbers. I can just highlight that right into, if I could bring up my toolbar, which is gone for some reason. I don't know where it went. Oh, because I'm sharing screen. If I stop sharing the screen, that's why. So I have this little Hikmah Bobby right here. If I click this guy and go back into that screen, I can copy and paste any text from any image, any screen, any web page, anywhere. And I've been using it to copy those hexadecimal codes from that color sheet that I've got when I'm vibe coding things into the chat channel. So that's what I got going on for today, folks. Anybody have any questions or any ideas or anything like that? No? Milo, is that you raising your hand or you're running away? Okay, well, we're just about out of time. I thank all you guys for coming here. I know this seems maybe, it's we're not building like these great workflows that are going to, revolutionize the office and things like that with this, but I'm still going to wave my flag. User inputs are very, very important in the work that all of us are doing. And there's just no question about that. And MindStudio has a great engine that's going to allow us to capture, control, and make impressions on people who use our work. And that's what this was all about. If you want to get a copy of my style library for free, please just drop me an email or DM me, and I'll email them out to you. And all you have to do is copy the text and paste it into that import window form, and you're rocking and rolling. So pretty cool, right? Anybody?
Thank you.
Nothing? Thank you, guys. See ya.
Thank you, Doug.
Yep.
Bye.
Han, if you want to send me a remix, feel free to do that. Thank you, Ken.